Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling. Shall we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today, where I'm just sort of rearranging my desk here. Don't mind me. What was I going to say? I can't even remember what I was going to talk about. I feel like I had a conversation topic lined up, but now it's gone from my mind. So, out of sight, out mind. Who cares? The future is now. We're talking about here in the present. Back to things we want. I don't know what I'm saying right now. It's like trying to be a motivational speech with no sense of motivation behind it. What should we talk about? I don't know. We'll get into it. Hello there, everyone. Right now in Fawnhollow at 6:09 p.m. on Monday, January 29th, 2024. I recorded the last episode of Goodbye Volcano High. Was it yesterday or the day before? I can't really remember. And I've not finished the new thumbnail art for the new series, but it's coming there. I will say very much. It's almost, well, I wouldn't say it's almost done. I just need to shade it and render it, and I guess finish the background. So okay, I would say it's over halfway done. Because the shading should be relatively simple. This game shading isn't too crazy, and the background I'm going to make relatively simple because, as with most thumbnail arts, as I've learned over the years, there's no point of doing a super detailed rendered background because most of the time you can't really see it, to be honest. So as long as you get the good vibes across, not the good vibes, but as long as you get the general feel of it across, you do. That's basically all you need. See, Goodbye Volcano High. That's actually a perfect example where I just you don't really see the background all that well, so there you go. I mean, now think about it. I feel like I broke that statement when I did Railbound, because Railbound I definitely spent way too much time on the background for, but that's more because of the art style. It's an art style where all the background is line arted, and that just takes time. I haven't started recording the new series yet. I don't know if I'll do it. It will probably be this weekend, I think. I'm not sure about today necessarily. Today I think I need to record some more Akami. I mean, I do have actually a backlog for once. Again, of a week, but still. But what are we going to talk about today? I don't know. What's going on Reddit, r/ games, anything interesting going on? Nothing here. I mean, stuff about reviews, but I'm not really sure that's for me to talk about necessarily. But that's stuff which is in the gaming sphere, but it's not the gaming sphere, which I'm all about privy or interested in necessarily. Not to say that I'm not interested in it. I suppose it's still intriguing in its own right, but it's a different sort of intriguing. Whoa! Why do I have so many star fragments in my? Oh yeah, because we went to a star fragment island yesterday. Why don't we store the weeds as well? It's rare that we have this many weeds. I also think we need to, sticks as well. I remember that when I was looking at my storage, I was like, my supply of sticks is dwindling. What's been going on recently? Playing any interesting games recently? I played a bit more Binding Isaac actually, recently, because my friend, he was playing it, and then we did a couple of co-op runs using remote play. I'm not as good as I was when I was playing it more consistently. I was actually losing runs. I think it's because it's at the stage where I'm just I know this would have been the correct decision for me to do if I was at the same sort of skill as I had back then, or if I had the same sort of knowledge or decision making. I would be this is the right move to make, but for me right now it's not necessarily the right move to make because it's too risky or that sort of thing. I find out as I was playing, because I was I'm going to play a bit more Binding Isaac again. I'm going to get sort of warmed up, get into the swing of habits of things, and I was just doing a Samsung run because I was it's time for me to finally collect all the post-it note things. Especially now because some of the characters have been buffed again. I actually thought I did all the post-it note things. So this is so esoteric and conversationally. I thought I did all the post-it note marks for Tainted Lazarus because I remember playing so much Tainted Lazarus. Mainly because despite the fact he was so atrociously bad on release, he was still actually my favorite character, or second favorite character. Jacob and Esau, I think, was my first favorite character. I loved the concept of Tainted Lazarus. He was just so unbelievably bad, so unbelievably weak. I think I spoke about it before. The TLDR is basically you're playing the game. The character is basically you get half as many items and consumable drops or something into our game, which is incredibly punishing in Binding of Isaac. I thought I did it. I especially thought I did Delirium, but it seems like I didn't do Delirium on Tainted Lazarus, which is interesting, but now it doesn't matter as much because Tainted Lazarus has been heavily buffed. He's not just absolute trash anymore. He's just an interestingly difficult character. So yeah, I was actually getting into a swing of things again, or like trying to play. So I was just doing like a very basic Samson run, and I was just taking it to the chest. That was my intention to. I mean, I literally did 2 runs and I died on both of them. I definitely should have won one of them. I can't remember which one. It was like the first or second one. I don't remember why I ended up losing. But it was for something very, very stupid is all I can particularly recall. It was the sort of thing where it was just like, I was playing it like way too risky and like loose when I just shouldn't have been doing that in the first place, when I could have just played it safe and I would have just taken it to a victory. But I don't know why, and then I just got careless and then I just died and I was like, whoops. Oh, I remember the second run. That was the first one. The first one was just stupid. The second one, I was just like, all right, let's just tough it out and see, because the second one was atrocious because I didn't get a single speed upgrade. In fact, I got like 3 speed downgrades. So my speed was 0.4 for the entire run, and I died on Mum's heart, or it lives, I suppose. And no joke, I died because I was literally not fast enough. No, I died on a cathedral, actually. I was legitimately not fast enough to dodge the enemy's attacks. Like, I could not outrun it. Like the laser, which was falling from the sky, if I recalled. So yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting sort of dichotomy of being like, I have this muscle memory of the knowledge, which I should, of what is the best decision to make theoretically, but that best decision isn't always, the best decision for me at my own current skill level, I suppose, to necessarily make. I guess it's like the general concept of, and I'm not saying that I'm an expert at Binding of Isaac. I think that's definitely pushing the boundaries a little bit too much. But it's the general concept of how the best choice for a beginner is not the best choice for like an intermediate, best choice for an expert versus best choice for a master, right? And which is kind of like obvious to say, I suppose, but it's interesting how these sort of like little tidbit things arise. I'm trying to think of like a good example off the top of my head, but it's a little difficult for me to think of something. And for some reason my mind went to like fighting games or something. It was like, oh, if you're a beginner, the best things for you to do is just sort of vaguely understand what your abilities do. You don't really need to like learn combos in that sort of sense. Well, I mean, it'd be nice to learn some very basic combos, like some free hit combos, but there's a lot more necessarily to be focusing on rather than combos. Like the concept of a neutral game, the concept of like how to block, the concept of, like breaking out of a combo or something like that. And then when you start getting into intermediate levels, it's like, okay, now you got to learn some like basic bread and butter combos, things that you can whip out and just like use over and over and over again. And then when you get to like expert levels, you get like more intricate combos, etc., etc. Anyway, I was just thinking about fighting games where like sometimes you can have situations which are designed in such a way as like, if you're an expert, you should go for this risk, because expert players will be more likely to execute it properly, while beginner players will obviously not be able to execute it properly and thus lose out on damage or something like that. I don't know. It's really difficult for me to think of a good example off the top of my head. I'm sure maybe if you're watching you could probably think of one, and I very much encourage it. But it's just kind of, I guess I'll take Binding of Isaac as an example. Like one of the rooms which exist in Binding of Isaac is called the self-sacrifice room, where basically you can sacrifice HP for material gain of some kind. And it's actually pretty decent on Samson, because Samson takes gets increased damage the more damage he takes on a floor. So it was in my head where I was like, oh, self-sacrifice room, playing a Samson is immediately the first thing I should do. I basically sacrificed all my health onto the thing to get material advantage of some sort. But it's also, that's not necessarily the best thing for, like, maybe my skill level to do. Like, maybe it's good to sacrifice some health, but not all of it health, to be perfectly honest. That's just putting myself in an unnecessary risk. Well, me at peak performance might be able to pull that off and, like, not get hit for, like, the first 4 floors or something. Well, okay, maybe that's not too much. Maybe I get hit, like, once or twice or something on the first 2 floors. Me right now probably doesn't have that same sort of luxury going for myself. I know it's a very sort of basic example. I mean, I guess that's kind of a concept of risk-reward that you put into games in the first place. It's good to put these gameplay decisions in which are risky, because then you're sort of like encouraging, you're goading people in to be like, hey, you think you're good at this game? All right, prove it, take this risk and you'll be rewarded. Otherwise, you won't. Otherwise, don't do it. Something like that. I just wish I had a good example. It feels like this is something which is like part of like a video essay, except for obviously this is a video essay I'm doing off the top of my head, so it's not really a video essay, it's more like a video improv. I'm just trying to think of something. What other games have I even played recently? Ugh, I don't even know. I don't feel like I played many other games outside of the ones I've done for the ones I play for this channel, to be perfectly honest. Like Binding of Isaac, even my friend pointed out, was like, whoa, I thought you didn't even play games outside of your channel. And I was like, whoa, you wrong. Obviously I didn't say it like that, but sometimes I do, if like I feel like it, but it's not been all that often. It's probably what I've been saying. But Binding of Isaac, you know, I was like, I'm kind of interested in playing it a bit more again, but after losing those 2 runs, I think the sort of not discrepancy, but the difference of me expecting to be better than I actually am, I suppose, makes it feel much more difficult to really win me over in that sense. I remember when I was trailing out from playing Binding of Isaac, when I was at my peak and I was like doing my best, I was like doing these not crazy runs, but like actually accomplishing things on some of the harder characters. I remember like the last run I played in that period, it was like a Tainted Keeper run, or maybe a regular Keeper run, I can't even remember. I just remember I played it and I beat it and I completed it, and I just went, you know what, I'm just not very interested in it right now. I'm just not having fun with it, so I just stopped playing. And that's literally it. How much I took it for granted, I suppose, to be able to have ability. No, okay, not ability. It's not like I'm bad or anything, but it's just like I'm average, rather than back then when I would consider myself as good. And by the way, it's not like the level of skill difference is honestly all that big. It's just I think I just overestimated how risky I should be playing necessarily in the last 2 runs I was doing. And actually the second run really wasn't too much my fault. It was just, you know, luck of a draw, and it ended up being pretty unlucky as things go. But yeah, I don't know. It just sort of came to mind. But it's nice. It's a nice way to have like a self-imposed difficulty, I suppose, in a game, like giving yourself your own risk and challenge. Well, I suppose it's different from giving yourself your own challenge, because it's actually, you get like a reward for taking the risk in the first place, right? Because you can put your own self-imposed challenges on, but they fundamentally feel different. Like, for example, I suppose in Cuphead, I had my own self-imposed challenge, I suppose, of a game. Did I do it for the DLC? I don't remember if I did it for the DLC or not, to be perfectly honest. But for the base game, which I didn't play on this channel, so you wouldn't have seen it, is I beat it all only using the pea shooter and smoke dash, or smoke bomb, whatever it's called, mainly because I didn't really like playing with running gun levels, and I didn't realise that's really how you get coins. And by the time I realised, I was like, might as well do the whole game like this. That's like a self-imposed challenge. But the thing is, I didn't get anything out of that challenge, like intrinsically from the game. I mean, I got things from my own like self-enjoyment of it, because it was a self-imposed challenge. Of course, it's fun in its own way. Otherwise, why would you be doing it, I suppose? But the game didn't like say, hey, this is a risk you can take and this is a reward that you'll get for doing it. I suppose the way that you can see that on Cuphead things itself is like where they put the pink parries in a level, is that sometimes they'll put it in risky places, and then they'll basically be like, hey, if you manage to hit this pink parry, you know, you'll get a little bit of a buff, a little bit of a bonus, but if you mistime it or whatever, you might be put in an even worse situation. You'll take some damage, etc., etc. as well. It's always nice to see these little trade-offs, I suppose, within games, which give it a little bit of dynamicism, don't you think? I have so many of these random games as well, which I should play. I'm playing a co-op game right now with a friend. We're playing Unravel 2. It's honestly quite a lot of fun. I didn't expect it to be nearly as long as it was, or as it is. I have so many games to play. How many other things have I got on my... I've got a lot of things on my uncategorized thing, but like, what's on the waiting list? 32 games on my waiting list for this channel. So many more which are also unsorted. I have a lot of things on my uninterested list as well. What's this? All the Five Nights at Freddy's games, that's fair. A lot of these games are just games I got for free, to be perfectly honest. I need to sort this stuff out. Like, have I updated all of these? I think some of these are unsorted because I'm not sure whether I want to put them in the waiting list or not yet. Yeah, I don't know, like risk reward in games. What else is like a really good thing of risk reward? Example of risk reward. You see that and be like, yeah, that's a really cool mechanic which is both risky and rewarded. I feel like, did I watch like a YouTube video about this recently. I have a feeling, because I suddenly had a flashback of like someone talking about like F-Zero games, where it's like, oh, you use your health as like a mechanic in video games to go faster or something, but it also puts you more vulnerable to being exploded or crashing and wiping out the course or something. But if you want to squeeze in those extra seconds, that's what you got to do. I think I did, but honestly, watch it really recently. And then I feel like there was another video I watched which not really about linked onto that video, but it was like a different thing ages ago about like TF2 and the inherent problems of TF2 and risk reward. I can't remember it. Actually, you know what video I did watch recently about video games? It was about Tetris. Again, if you don't know, like the news, like 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago or something, a player called Blue Scooty was basically the first person to reach the true kill screen, as it's called in Tetris, aka he played so many levels and went so far enough in Tetris that the game straight up crashed because the code could not handle it anymore. There's some really like good videos out there, I suppose, about it, and I'm not like an expert in Tetris, but I suppose the TLDR of it is people thought the initial kill screen of Tetris would be like level 29, which is basically when the pieces fall so fast that you can't actually move the pieces to the side of a board anymore, and thus, you know, it's like a game over. But it's not technically a true game over, because you can't actually, as it turns out, move the pieces to the board fast enough if you just tap faster than the button, then the game registers you holding it to the side for. So basically people used to just hold the button down to the right, and then like the game would not refresh fast enough to move the piece to the right enough. But then it's like you could do hyper tapping, and you can tap the button faster than the game itself, I suppose, would refresh the button being held to the right, and thus you could actually get pieces down to the side. And then, you know, people were just like, oh, let's just see how far you can go with that. But it's pretty hard to keep that up with hyper tapping or whatever. So, you know, the highest level that someone got to was like level 30 something, I think. I don't know off the top of my head, to be perfectly honest. But then, you know, someone invented rolling, which is basically a way to tap a button like even faster. But really what you're doing is you're tapping the controller, you're rolling your fingers, I guess, against the bottom of a controller to tap it into your button. And that just means you can get like an absurd amount of like inputs in. And then people were just like, oh, what's the next potential kill screen? And basically it was the golden level of 154, I can't quite remember, where basically if you clear into that level with a single line clear, then the game just crashes because the code can't handle it. And it's like, whoa, that's actually very, very interesting. And apparently now what people are trying to do as the next sort of challenge, or some people are like starting to plan it out, because like, where do you go from there? And like, you reach the kill screen, how can you go any further? Well, it turns out it's not technically the end, because what you could theoretically do is you could do something which surpasses the kill screen, which basically means that you just keep going. If certain things crash the game, I suppose at certain points, certain things don't crash the game, on the other hand. And basically, I suppose the challenge now is to see if you can make it through the entire Tetris game, not intentionally triggering a crash, until you can get all the way around to looping around back to level 1 again. And I'm like, wow, that's an interesting challenge. I don't know how they're going to do it. That's going to take like 3 hours, I feel like, of continuous playing of Tetris, which is a little absurd, I would say. But, you know, the human mind and human spirit is indomitable. Some people see that challenge and they're going to rise up to it. And by all means, I applaud it. But it's not really got much to do with risk and reward, to be honest. But, you know, I don't know. Risk reward mechanics in games, they're kind of cool. I only vaguely talked about them as well. Anyway, I'm going to round this episode off here. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope you see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.